After arriving late to work, my boss asked me to stay late to make up for the hours I had missed. I worked taking calls and talking to all kinds of people, from the polite to the loudest. I started my normal day like any other, and as the hours went by there was less and less staff left on the floor, to the point that by 10 p.m. there was only me left. The nice thing about working at this time was that everyone was resting and no one was calling at that time. I got bored, so I decided to walk the floor. All the stations were empty except for one. There was a guy sitting there doing absolutely nothing. He was just standing there. I talked to him, but he didn't say anything. He didn't do anything either. He was pale and his eyes were lost. I was a little scared, I don't deny it. I turned around and took a few steps to leave. Something called my attention and I looked up, but he was no longer there. I started to look for him in all the stations, but he was nowhere to be found. I heard a noise in the bathroom as if someone was hitting a metal object, and I went to check. There was no one there. When I came out, all the lights went out and I was totally bewildered. It was pitch black and I couldn't see anything. Suddenly the light came on and then went out. When it came on, I saw a man standing at the other end of the floor, but it went out. Then the light came on again and he was closer. It went out and I froze and my mind went blank. Came on again and I saw him even closer. I could almost touch him. His skin was pale and his eyes were totally black. But again the light went off, and when it came on I saw the security guard looking out, and with a kind voice he asked me, "Are you okay, young man?" I asked him if he had seen the guy who was working with me on the same floor. He told me there was no one with me, but I contradicted him. I had seen him. He invited me to the security room to show me that there was no one but me and him in the entire building. I agreed to go, and when I saw the monitor I was standing there. There was no one else, and we checked all the cameras to confirm, but it was just me. "You saw when the lights went out?" I asked him, to which he replied that the lights were fine and had not failed all night. He told me to be careful and to contact him if I needed help. He was going to be checking other parts of the building. I went back to my station. I was still scared and got a call. I picked it up, but on the other end I could only hear one person breathing. It was a heavy breathing, like when you are trying to breathe with an oxygen mask. Then he hung up. I ignored that and continued what I was doing, but again I was interrupted by a call. Again the person could be heard breathing as if the oxygen was running out. Suddenly there was about 5 seconds of silence and he said, "I'm behind you." I turned around scared, but there was no one there. When he hung up the call, the lights went out again. I tried to get out, but I couldn't see anything. I felt firm footsteps slowly approaching. I yelled for help, tried to call security, but they didn't hear me. I found the door and got out. When I looked back, I saw my station computer on, and he was standing in front of it. He looked at me and quickly began to chase me. I quickly ran to the security office and it was locked. I looked out the window of the building and the security guard was on the sidewalk in front of me talking to the 2 security guards from the other building. I yelled at them very loudly, but the window glass blocked the sound so they couldn't hear me. I tried to find a way out, but I remembered that the exit was on the other side of the building and I would have to go through the production floor, the place where I took calls and where that guy was probably. It was quite complicated, but it had to be done. I went quickly and tried not to make any kind of noise that might attract his attention. When I entered the production floor, I looked everywhere, and the only light I could see was from my station's computer. It was a big place, and the light from the monitor was not enough to illuminate the whole place. I walked slowly down the hallway and heard the door through which I had entered close. I started to run, and behind me someone was running too. I finally made it out, and there were 3 security guards running towards me. They were the security guard from the company along with the 2 from the other building. They asked me if I was okay, to which I answered yes. They looked very worried, and I asked them if something was wrong. They said they saw me when I was standing at the window, and behind me was a man holding a knife to my neck. I didn't know what to say at that moment. The security guards quickly went to check the security cameras, but the security video showed only me. There was no one else. We realized that there was not a person and had no good intentions. We locked ourselves in the security room, and while we were there, I told them everything that had happened to me. The next day, we left the small place, and immediately the security guard of the company resigned. I, for one, never went back to work nights or to be alone in the company. I didn't waste my time telling anyone what happened that night, because no one would believe it. As for that supernatural being, I knew he was still out there looking for someone to terrorize, although I'm still not really sure what his intentions were.